In this June 15th episode of 3tobicoke, I'm going to take you through a one-bedroom detached bungalow in Alderwood that was recently listed and sold for $980,000 and explain to you why building or removing a wall can in some rare instances affect the value of a home by as much as $100,000. A 4-bedroom detached bungalow in the Etobicoke Westmount neighborhood that was listed for $1.15 million, yet sold for $1,080,000, which builds a strong case for why home shopping during times of uncertainty, while scary, can sometimes be well worth it. And a multi-unit triplex in New Toronto in South Etobicoke that has huge potential as a multifamily home or a single family home conversion for the right home buyer, listed at $1.4 million. If this is your first time watching, my name is Jonathan Lee and I'm an Etobicoke specialist. 3tobicoke is a video series that I run weekly where I analyze 3 different properties at 3 different price points. If you're interested in learning more about any of these properties or you would like to chat about real estate, you can schedule a call with me through Calendly by clicking on the link below in the description. Now let's jump into the first home. For viewers that follow me on social media, you may have heard me say that late May, early June is a transitionary period in real estate where many buyers and movers, they step away from the market to sort of just enjoy the summer. This year, the seasonality coincided with a recent interest rate hike that did shock the market and let people know to not expect interest rates to drop anytime soon. And in fact, they might continue to rise in the near term. So the drop off of buyers and movers may be larger than previous years through the summer. And this uncertainty is kind of, again, shaking the market, which sometimes means greater opportunity for a buyer that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford the same house. So the first 2 homes that I'm going to go through, 60 Woodbury and 77 Wareside, are going to exemplify this. So to start off, 60 Woodbury in Alderwood is located west of Browns Line, which I feel is kind of like the better half of Alderwood. That's a bit subjective. So this home will be walkable to Long Branch Go, about a probably 15-minute walk or so. It's also going to be walkable to Sir Adam Beck, the elementary school right here, and also the Alderwood Center, which has the Alderwood Library and the pool. And of course, it's going to be walkable to all the shops on Browns Line and on Lakeshore as well. The property is on a 29 by 125 foot lot and is a modestly updated 1.5 story, 1-bedroom home. It's sold for a very reasonable price of $980,000, but was originally listed with an offer date on June 7th. The sellers had purchased the home, I'd say at the bottom of the market, for $925,000 back in the fall of 2022. And after land transfer taxes and of course commissions paid on the sale, I'm pretty sure they unfortunately lost money on the deal. Now let's quickly go through the pics. So it's a pretty quaint little 1.5 story house. It's got a shared mutual drive, nice street. This is a picture of the floor layout. You can see here they've kind of pointed where a potential 2nd bedroom can be. The primary bedroom is on the upper half story of the house up here, roughly 308 square feet. You can see they have an enclosed patio at the front of the house, and they got this really nice little open concept kind of feel vibe to the house. It's been modestly updated and has some modern features to it, like this updated staircase. You can see the kitchen's all been updated as well. Bathroom looks cute. This is the upper level bedroom. And downstairs in the basement, you have an extra bedroom and an updated bathroom. So you can see as a house, definitely decent living quarters, very comfortable looking, but you know, probably for anyone that's an upsizer, it's not really an option. Anyone that has kids or a young child would find this property difficult to work with, or for anyone that's actually, even for that matter, really tall in the upper half level, living in that upper primary bedroom there would probably be a bit of a challenge. When the home was renovated, it was probably meant for a downsizer, which is really, unfortunately, the bane of this home's existence. Downsizers aren't really active right now, mainly because many of them are holding on to their more expensive $2 million to $3 million homes, waiting for better market conditions to sell and to cash out and then get the smaller home. You can see in their floor plan where they've indicated that 2nd bedroom can be built, but you know, obviously, again, if you have a small family, that would mean sleeping on separate floors. And unfortunately, as it is, this home is probably going to be a deal breaker for a lot of those upsizers, even if it is more comfortable. Having having only one bedroom essentially severely limits the market to this property. And likely on the offer date, they only got that single offer and ended up selling for under $1 million. Just for contrast, this original looking home, which is on the other side of Browns Line, the east side, sold for $1,070,000 and is about the same size as 60 Woodbury. Just kind of show you through the pictures here. You can see it's pretty dated, has an unfinished basement. It's 2-bedroom and was likely of similar square footage. Lot-wise, not an extra 3 feet of frontage, but just having that extra bedroom made it easier to work with and live in, even if the finishes of the home were much more dated. So an instance like this is kind of really an indication to show you that potentially building an extra wall there would have added potentially quite a bit of extra value to a potential buyer that couldn't see the way it existed, or where the property just fell outside of the query and didn't pop up on their search. Because if this property, 60 Woodbury, would have worked for a prospective buyer and they could have easily converted it into a 2-bedroom, you could have potentially gotten a great deal on a very comfortable looking home. So the next home I have is 77 Wareside, which sold on June 7th. It was a large 4-bedroom detached bungalow on a pretty comfortable looking 50 by 110 foot lot and was listed at $1.15 million, but they ended up selling on their offer date for $1,080,000. Let's quickly go through the pics. So you can kind of see it's in a little bit dated condition. The kitchen was probably refreshed, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 years ago. I don't know if you can tell in the kitchen, but it's missing a fridge here. It's also missing a stove there. I just want to say that that's a big no-no if you're ever going to sell property. Likely the sellers here, they either sold the fridge and stove or potentially gifted it to a relative because they're selling their home, they don't need it. And they might have been newer, just considering the condition of the dishwasher here. But any buyer, especially if they're a first-time home buyer, will be looking at this and thinking they have to immediately spend an extra $3,000 to $5,000 on new appliances, which is just taking away money from their down payment, because most people, they're not just going to have that cash laying around, so they're going to have to pull up from somewhere else. So even if the appliances are old, if they're still functioning, just keep them in there. Or if you're going to do something like this, swap out appliances, make sure you have functioning appliances, even if they're old, installed in the house. Underneath this carpet, most likely there's going to be hardwood flooring underneath, and just kind of considering the overall cleanliness and shape of the carpet, I'm going to guess that hardwood is probably in pretty good shape. I don't see any spills or anything like that indicating that there would be damage on the hardwood underneath. Most of the homes from the 50s, 60s era that this home was built in will have hardwood built in there. Obviously this home is kind of dated. The bathrooms was probably also refreshed, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But the home looks very clean. It looks like it was taken care of. It was well maintained. And that's obviously important for any home. But yeah, honestly, at $1,080,000, I think this was a hell of a buy for that buyer. Most sellers and their realtors, even if they only have one offer coming on their offer date, will be upfront and say, like, I'm not going to sell below my list price. Homes in the neighborhood of similar shape are selling for 1.15 to 1.25. Really depends on kind of timing and condition of the home. Clearly this didn't happen. Perhaps the seller was motivated, but in a transitionary market, you do stand the best chance as a buyer to get a deal, mainly because the sellers and the realtors as well, they won't know when the market will pick up again, if rates will continue to rise again for sure. Maybe this is the most that the market is going to pay for the property at this moment in time, and the sellers just might accept a bit of a lower offer. For reference, just to kind of go through, this home on Summerfield sold about a week later for almost just under 1.15 million, so about an extra $65,000 more, and it was in pretty similar shape. As you can see, like, I'd say it's about equivalently dated. You can see that the owner is still currently living in this home. Of course, this one does have the stove and the fridge in it as well. Probably, a bit more dated bathrooms. And so this one also is on a slightly smaller lot. Wareside was 50 by 110. This is 45 by 123. But this home, I do know, they also only got one offer, and they were listed at $1,088,000 with their offer date. Clearly, the sellers were more aggressive, and they ended up settling on 1.145, which I think is still a good deal, but is more closely reflective of the market today. Alrighty, and the last home for us to go through is 115 17th Street, which is located in South Etobicoke in the area of New Toronto. This is just north of Lakeshore, south of New Toronto Street here, so right around Lakeshore and Kipling area. This property is zoned as a duplex, but looks like it's actually more of a triplex. You can see they have 2 kitchens plus 1, so they're clearly renting out the basement, and they had that lower level as a unit as well. It's on a pretty large 50 by 100 foot lot, and if you look at the orientation here, right here, you can definitely see it, but let's look at it on Google Maps. So if you look at the orientation here, you can kind of see that the property is located right up to the front corner, and so you have quite a bit of space here to the side, all this driveway space here. And if we look at it from the satellite here, you have a lot of backyard space here to the rear. This property has been on the market for 23 days and is tenanted. It was originally listed at 1.5 million, but they dropped their price to 1.4 million. It's pretty large. It's listed at 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, and not sure if you can tell, but this section right here to the rear is an extension. It's a 2-story extension that was built off the back. So I'll show you sort of over the satellite here. You can see it a bit more clearly. That's the 2-story extension built off the back. So let's quickly go through the pics. So obviously this is the home from the front. The pics are of kind of low quality, and the clutter of the house, probably make it look a little bit less appealing. But to me, it actually looks like it's in pretty decent shape overall. I can see that they've taken care of the property, put some work, put some improvements into the home itself. The yard looks like it's been taken care of as well. And overall, to me, the home looks like it's pretty well maintained. This front section here was built in 1940. The brick was probably refaced actually when they built the extension off the back. So been on the market 23 days, not a super long period of time, but I do have an idea of why it's having some trouble selling. Firstly, being marketed as an investment property, as a duplex, triplex. There are fewer investors looking to buy right now, especially a tenanted property, just because the market rents are higher now. So, if it was vacant, it probably would be a bit easier, not only to show, but to buy and fill in at higher rents. That's one reason. But secondly, the location on 17th Street, even though it's pretty close to Lakeshore, pretty close to the lake, and a lot of the shops there, this property being north of Lakeshore, north of Birmingham, in between Birmingham and New Toronto Street, it's pretty close to a number of auto garages, and I'll kind of show you that on Google Maps. So here's 115 17th Street, and if you kind of just go up here a little bit, you have these I think this is a warehouse. I know these are like kind of mechanic shops here. These aren't noisy, but it's not a great sight to see a bunch of broken down cars when you step out your front door. So I think that's a bit of a buzzkill for the home. But I do like the size of the home and the lot orientation. I think it could make a good multifamily option, potentially with a few adult grown kids, especially if they all need cars and space to park. Plenty of space to do that, or potentially for anyone that wants to build an accessory structure. Property has a lot of land that is not being used, that is easily accessible due to the amount of space to the side and to the rear of the home. So the rear or the side of the home could be used to build another extension off the back, or potentially these days building an accessory structure like a garden suite is actually relatively easy to get approval for. So you could probably do that without disturbing the existing home here. Probably pretty easy to do. Or potentially, if you want to do any of that later on down the line, 17th Street is very close to Humber College, which has plenty of students that need to rent. So, renting the bedrooms out would be really easy. Or you could potentially just rent out the lower unit to students, live in the upper main after a conversion, do what you need to do with the land further on down the line. Well, that wraps up this week's episode. If you're curious to know more about market conditions, or you would like to chat about your home search, you can schedule a call with me through Calendly by clicking on the link below in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.